just start with to say, I'm only a sinner saved by grace. It gets to me, Brother Rudy asked that I would give my testimony. All I have ever known is church. I took to church as a little girl. I remember jumping on the pews and falling off, and my mama took me out and gave me a whooping and brought me back in and set me down. So I'm very thankful. I'd like to read you my verse that the Lord gave me. It's Galatians 2:20. I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Like I say, I grew up in church. I if you die, you go to hell. If you're lost, if you're saved, you go to heaven. And my cousin had a push to get souls saved in his church, a soul winners week, and so they had all of the cousins come on Sunday, and we went to church with him, and then when we come home, we had lunch with him, and he took one by one, he took us all in his bedroom, gave us the plan of salvation, and prayed with us. And I remember running out, telling my mom, Jimmy saved me. And Mama said, no, Jimmy didn't save you, Jesus did. So I said, okay, Jesus saved me. And then just growing up and hearing preaching. And then we had a pastor come in that took us to Camp Zion, Myrtle, Mississippi, where Dr. Percy Ray was head of, and got good Bible preaching. So I came home, I'm 11, came home in that year. I got to see the burning hell that Dr. Lackey put out. I was scared to live, and I was scared to die. I knew if I died, I would go to hell, because I was not sure I was saved. And I was so unsure that I was saved, if I was saved, that I could not even enjoy my days. As an 11-year-old little girl, I was miserable in everything I did. And my mom and dad just very graciously let me go back the next year to Camp Zion. And I cannot tell you what the preacher preached. I have no idea what he preached. But I know that Wednesday morning, right before lunch, I hit that altar and I told the Lord, I'm a sinner and I'm going to die and go to hell. And he rolled the burden away. Amen. He took it away. Amen. And I remember coming home and telling Mama, it will be different. He put a new love in my heart. He put a song in my heart. He just brought joy to my life. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a pessimist. It's going to go wrong. It's going to go wrong. And I'm going to tell you all the ways it's going to go wrong. I'm glad I married an optimist. But my God has been a good God. He has taken care of me. He has helped me. I fell in love with castles in the 6th grade. Our teacher went in depth with medieval history. We even learned to play chess, which was one of their games they played. We had a medieval festival, and I just thought, okay, what kind of job can I get to go to Europe? My aunt worked for an airlines, and they would make her take trips. I thought, well, if I work for an airlines, then maybe I can get a couple trips overseas and see some castles. I never dreamed missionary. Never in my life dreamed missionary. But the Lord put us together. When I married Brother Rick, I had to say yes to a mission field. And actually, I'll just be honest with you, growing up in the churches, I grew up in North Carolina, they said God doesn't love the Germans because of what they did to the Jews. I had people say, yeah, God can't save a German because what they did to the Jews. And I had to overcome that. But the Lord worked in my heart and gave me a love for the German people. And I I've seen some saved, and it's been a blessing. It's just been good to serve the Lord. He's been very faithful. I remember we landed on the field, and I know nothing. I cannot speak the language. I do not understand what the people are talking about. The whole church service was in German. There was no translator. I couldn't even find the books of the Bible because I didn't know what he was saying. And Brother Rick had to go to language school, and we went with very little money. So he had to go to language school, whatever was there. And I said, but I want to go to language school. And he looked at me and he said, pray the money in. I said, okay. So I prayed. And I said, Lord, I really need to go to language school. And we got a one-time offering that paid for both of our school bills. Simply because, and it saddens my heart to say this, my mom got put in an insane asylum for a while. There was a lady in her room, and she kept telling this lady about her missionary daughter, and they sent us $1,000.
Amen.
They both came out and were best friends, so I'm thankful for that. But they sent us $1,000, and it was the best language school. It taught you to know, to not have to know every word in the sentence, but get the meaning of the sentence, and to be able to understand it and to hear the people and understand it. And then we was going in and out of East Germany in the border. We met a family over there, and so we invited the daughter to come see us. And she wanted the free gift. She saw there was a free gift offered, and she thought, well, if it's a free gift, it's a free gift. So she put our names down for Reader's Digest. So she signed us up for the subscription of a Reader's Digest, which was then great for us because it's short stories. There's very interesting stories, and you start to read them, and you can understand them with not knowing every word. But then the Lord also provided us a job working at the fruit and vegetable stand, and it's a spa town, and so the people were coming there, and they wanted fresh fruit. But Germans don't want just fresh fruit. One German wants a sour apple that's crunchy. The next one wants a sour apple that's soft. The next one wants a crunchy apple that's sweet. And then the next one doesn't want anything that's not been grown in Germany. They want a German apple. And so we learned talking with the people and just having to use what little German we knew to speak to them. And then we started going over the border, and it was a border crossing because the Lord called us to East Germany, behind the Iron Curtain. Many of you don't even know what that is anymore, but there was a wall there. There was bombs in no man's land, and it was scary to go over. And we would take fruits and vegetables to them because they couldn't get them. The East Germans had your basic supplies. They weren't that poor of a country. They had milk and bread, and they had, a lot of times they grew their own rabbits or animals that they ate, but they had your basic staples that they needed. They just didn't have no color. Everything was gray. All their houses were gray, so paint was hard to come by and that type of stuff. But and then for us to get in to East Germany, Brother Rick started going over and meeting some of the pastors, and he wound it up with a Brother Siegfried Kalk, who got caught smuggling Bibles into Romania, and so he knew the contacts that we needed, because they would always, he had to go before these courts and stuff, and so he knew the contacts that we needed, because he was then able to get literature from West Germany for the churches in East Germany. And there was churches over there, brethren churches, and they were just trying to do right. And so we went through him, and he was able to get us a house, because housing, the Lord worked everything out. I mean, everything with the border crossings, and going across with a newborn baby, and usually coming out at the last minute of that day that you could get out. It was usually dark and midnight almost, and they were, going through your trunks and going through your, trying to lift up your back seats, and so you had to take that little baby out of the car, and they were very gracious. I must admit, they were very, very, very gracious. Put the baby back in the car, and then usually no troubles. And even though one time we was trying to help the one missionary, because the one guy, because he'd been given a West German printer, and it wouldn't work, and so we was taking it back to West Germany to get it printed, get it fixed for him, and never knowing that we had stuff in our car that they shouldn't see, and so they only focused on that printer. That was all the questions they asked. Why do you have this, and what are you going to do with it? And never even seeing the literature and the Bibles and stuff that we have in the car. So wow. The Lord worked that all out. That they focused on that, and so we was able to get across. And then our big thing was to get into the country. We realized going in and out of East Germany, we're not going to reach these people if we don't live among them. We have to live among them. And it was just, the houses were so run down. If you had a free room in your house, if you were two people and lived in a 3-bedroom house, they would just put someone else in that third bedroom. That was how bad the housing was. So it was very difficult. And there was a young family in the church there, and they had a house, and they bought it to fix it up. And it was just too much of a job, and so they wanted to sell it. And so we were able to buy it dirt cheap. I really don't even know, but it was like dirt cheap. We didn't pay anything for it, maybe $2,000 for that whole house. It was really cheap, but needed a lot of work, because they had the bathroom in, they had the living room in, and they had one side up top that was in, but the other side was still hay. It was a hay loft, and there was still hay in there, and the bathroom, and so there was steps up there, and so it had to be taken care of. And it was I don't know if anybody saw old ski movies, and the skiers sit around the heater in those ski lodges. They sit around those heaters. We had one of those in our living room, and unfortunately didn't know how to use it. And so Brother Rick was getting ready to go preach. He was in the bathroom tying his tie, and I had left the two boys. Samuel was just, Mishi was nine months. I think Mishi was 9 months, and Samuel was just a little over a year, and so maybe going on 2. And we left them in the living room, and I went next door because I could get fresh milk. One of my neighbors sold fresh milk, and so I could get it, and was trying to be a witness to them too at the same time. I was going to go get my milk and be right back, and then I'd be back before Brother Rick would have to leave. And we had to keep the house warm, keep that one room warm for us, because it's the 30th of October, so the days are already cold, the nights are cool, and we left the boys in there, and we left that door open. And Samuel went over to that door just as the coals caught fire, and the combustion threw the fire out on his shirt. And with neither one of us in the room, it burned quickly. And we didn't realize that Michael was so close to him. And then Brother Rick, of course, heard the screams, and so he went in and he took Mishi, and he said he just took Mishi and set him down out of the way, not knowing that when we got his clothes back, that when he set him down, his pants were on fire, and they put the fire out, because the rubber pants were melted. And then he put the fire out of Samuel with his own hands. And the Lord just put us in the right place. put us in the right hospital, and at the right time. They had, as we drove to the little bitty hospital in the village, and they said we couldn't help him, so they took us to the next biggest hospital, and then we'd forgotten their shot records. And in Germany, they don't do nothing without your shot records. They got to know what you've had. And then Brother Rick said, hey, just work on him. I'll run back to the house, which is a 20-minute drive, and get his shot records and bring him right back. And they just treated Mishi for smoke inhalation and kept him in that hospital. And then Samuel, they cleaned him up as good as they could and sent him to Dresden, which was an hour away. And it was just the Lord. Put him in that hospital. They had the newest techniques, and they put him, because he was covered, his hands, his chest, his face, he's got his knees. He had places on his knees, and they put him in a room that was 70% humidity, and put him at a warm, I think 70 degrees. And actually, tried to use as few bandages as possible, because to keep the wounds moist. And the Lord put him in the room with a little Russian boy who would spill hot coffee on him. And we could only go 1 hour a day and look at him through the window. We were not even allowed in the room. That's all we could do. And we made sure we go, because the doctor said he asked for us, and he would see us through the window. So when I realized that mother that was standing beside me was Russian, I told Brother Rick, can I give her a Bible? Because we were working with the Russian soldiers. We had some Russian Bibles. And I remember, I didn't know how she would react. I didn't know if she would want it or not. And I remember when I handed her the Bible, we're standing in the hallway of a hospital, and I handed her that Bible. She literally jumped up and down and said, I've looked for this book all my life. Wow. And they were gone. He was out of the hospital that quick. We never saw her again. But, just the thrill that God would use my little boy to be able to do that. And God blessed. I won't, hey, Samuel's a missionary in the Czech Republic today. He plays accordion. The Lord blessed his fingers. They said he never played piano. He can play a little bit if he wants to. God's given him a wife. Gave him 2 beautiful children. Hey, he's living for the Lord, and God used it to be a blessing. And I'm just thankful. I mean, we dealt with the wounds breaking off when he started school. His fingers would break open, because the Germans don't write with pens. They write with ink in the 1st grade. It's a fountain pen in the 1st grade, and so the ink would get in there, and we fought that. But hey, God's grace is sufficient, and Miss Marsha Farley gave me the best advice: don't baby him, let him do what he wants to do, and deal with the consequences afterwards. Skinned knees, and it's already burnt, and but God blessed. And so we were still there in Babelsdorf, and Brother Rick was taking a lot of trips into Romania, trying to help some young guys. He was going into Ukraine. Some of those guys that we support today that are pastors, he was going in when they were in their decisive years and needed some training, needed some good preaching, and he was going in. And I mean, he would be gone like weeks at a time, and I'm at home with 3 little kids, and I told the Lord, I said, he needs a rest. I told him, I'll never pray again. You can go as far as you want to go. I'm never praying the Lord give you another rest. He helped a missionary go to, who was planning on going to Poland. They took a trip to Poland and took Bibles, and in Warsaw, Poland, they stole our van. Brother Rick had to come home on the train, and when he come home, he had hepatitis that he had gotten in Moldavia. So, we were quarantined. I mean, the whole family was quarantined. We couldn't go out. They put Brother Rick in the hospital because he was so bad, and we all had to get tested. So two of my two youngest kids were positive hepatitis. So we couldn't go nowhere, and no one could come to us. Mm-hmm. I told him, I said, I'll never give you a respiratory. So we're without a car, and we can't go anywhere, and nobody can go to us. The church was very gracious. They would bring food and set it on the doorstep, and then we could go out and get it, so we don't get them. And then I just basically went to the doctor, and I said, hey, I can't go shopping. I'm not infected. And she said, yeah, we've tested you. You're not infected. You can go shopping. I said, but I've got two kids that are, and I can't take them out. And as long as they rest, the only cure for hepatitis that he had is not the with the shots. It's not with the drugs. It's just from filth, because the water, drinking water in Moldavia. So it's only rest. It's diet and bed rest is the only cure. And you gotta have a lot of, so I went to the doctor and I said, hey, I can't even go to the store and get food for my kids and milk and whatever they need. And so I went to her and I said, give me my husband at home. Let me have him at home so that he can watch at least the kids and stay with the kids, and I'll go by myself. I won't take them out. I'll go by myself. And she did that for me. She very graciously let me do that. So the Lord, will give, watch what you pray for. He might just give it to you. But I will say, we decided before we had children, Brother Rick decided we'll put them in the German schools, because the Germans cannot homeschool. I mean, we've had several, and we know of them, German families where they have, they have their own business. Those children would look you in the eye when you ask them a question and answer you. They sat through the most boring sessions I have ever seen and never made a sound. Those were good children. And they took his business away. They took their home that he had bought. They took that away from them. They took their transportation away from them because they would not put their kids in public school. So and they ended up going to Canada. They actually sought asylum in Canada. And we just decided, okay, we can homeschool, so we will be the example. The women in our churches can't homeschool, we'll be the example. And Samuel is our guinea pig, because the German schools are not anything like American schools. They come out of first grade writing cursive. They don't print, they write cursive. They pack into 10 years what America packs in 12. So, and they only get 6 weeks summer vacation, get a couple through different things through the years. But we just decided we're going to put them through the Christian school. So we had devotions at 5:30 every morning. School starts at 7:30. So, and we got to get them some breakfast and off to school. We would have devotions. We'd read a chapter in the Bible and we'd pray. We kept it as simple. When we got little children, they got to go to school. I think we figured out with all the years the kids went to school, just on school days, we read the Bible through twice. Because he marked it, those devotions. And everybody does devotions different, and you give account to God what he wants you to do and do it. But that's what the Lord gave us. And then we would send them off to school, and just the things, it was just, we prayed. We really prayed, because Samuel and Mishi accepted Christ before they started school, so they had the Holy Ghost to go with them. And Samuel sees everything black and white, so sometimes he would tell his teachers, hey, God created the world. It is not as old as you say it is. He would combat them. He wasn't ashamed to do that. And then so it set the way, it made the other ones easy, the road a little bit easier, because this is Samuel's brother, or brothers, this is Samuel's sister, so. But we never allowed them to take a field trip, because they would take overnight field trips. We never allowed them to go without one of us. And the teachers were just very gracious. And then like we had a conflict one time. Mishi was wanting to go, and Samuel was, they were planning them at the same time. And so we knew that Samuel had never been on one, because we kept him out of the 4th grade. We didn't let him go because the teacher wouldn't let us go. So we kept him home, and he had to just go in another class for a week. And then, so in high school, about 2 years later, Mishi's teacher is she's walked up Kilimanjaro. She's that type of geography teacher. Okay, she's that type. So she's hands-on. She wants you to get out and do things. They went hammocking in the national park. They rode bikes for 2 hours to sleep on hammocks. And one of the girls went to sleep on her bike coming home the next day. That's the type. Her brother Rick was with, and her mom and dad were with too. So it was that's the type of teacher she was. So, but brother Rick said Mishi can't go, because Mishi had been able to go in the 4th grade because his teacher allowed one of us to go with. So that, and even Johanna had been in the 2nd grade, and I had been able to go with. So, but Samuel had not had one because his teacher wouldn't allow us. So his teacher, they were going, I don't know what he said, but they were going on a field trip, and 5 weeks, it's all week, it's 5 days, and Mishi's teacher wanted to go. And so we said, okay, Samuel gets to go. Samuel gets the preeminence. So Mishi told his teacher, I can't go. So he comes home and says the teacher wants to talk to us. So we don't know what we're getting into, but Brother Rick said, hey, kids go through things, and things happen to kids, and they need someone to talk to when it happens. Not wait 5 days to talk about it. You need to talk about it right there. And we just feel like we need to be there for our kids so they can talk to us. And she said, Mr. Weimer, that's the most wonderful thing I've ever heard in my life. We'll postpone our trip. We'll postpone our trip. And so it was, they knew that if it was a field trip, I went on several of the day trips. We were very active in the PTA, per se. I even got to sit one night and hear the mayor of Dresden. I was a representative for the school, and hear the mayor of Dresden tell why they were closing some schools and not schools. The Lord just blessed it. And anything that was like, well, we would say it was against what we believe, our Christian standards, and we would go to them, that's that American stuff. They're okay, but our kids were good students. And our one, the grade school teacher even said, Mr. Weimer, don't you have any more kids? We like your kids. And even they do mandatory swimming classes in the 3rd grade. And so we're like, okay, what are we going to do with Johanna? But there's a lady in East River Baptist Church that sews decent bathing suits with bloomers under them. And the teachers were like, this is the cutest thing we've ever seen. And then, of course, Johanna and her friend from the church, because we got a family coming in, wore culottes. And the teacher said, the PE teacher said, wow, they try. They give it their best shot. And the one teacher, the Mishi's teacher that was, Kilimanjaro, she was saying, you got to get the high jump. You got to get over the bar. I mean, they do Olympic training in PE in Germany. And she said, she would put clothespins on their culottes, because it was always their culottes that was hanging on the bar, so they couldn't get over it. And she said, well, take them off just as soon as you get over the bar. You got to get your grade. The Lord blessed. He just blessed. And it's been a walk of faith. Everything you do in your life, is based on a walk of faith. And I don't think I ever realized it until we had, the Germans do, catechism. The Germans, they do that. And so Brother Rick took Spurgeon's catechism and took the Calvinism out of it. And that's what he taught our kids, because in the 8th grade, they go through that. They have that in the churches, and they have the communists come up with a form of it that they do. And so Brother Rick wanted, if you take something away from, you got to give something. And so he did that with our kids as they were coming up. And then their stipulation, they had to read their Bible through. And then the boys had to preach a short sermon. The girls, it was lovely when the girls came along, because he said, okay, you got to do girl things. So he had the girls sew a dress and cook the meal that everybody was served at church. Mm-hmm. And it was so much fun going with those girls downtown to pick out their patterns and pick out, because I started teaching the young girls in church as soon as they could pull a needle how to sew. We did cross stitches, we did sample, samplers. We did samplers, we did those. We sewed, for Christmas, I would say, okay, we're gonna sew a basket out of material, and you're gonna bake something and give it to somebody. So several of them give it to their teachers. We sewed a doll from scratch. We completely sewed her from scratch, and then just slowly working up, and then that was their first to sew themselves a dress. And it was a challenge. 8th graders sewing your own dress, but they picked out their own patterns, and yeah, they were so happy to wear those dresses to church that day. Mm-hmm. And they picked out the meals that they wanted to serve everybody and cook. Yeah, it was a good time. And that's they got your basic doctrines, the Trinity, and it was very good. They got all of those basic fundamentals of the Bible and had read their Bible through, and they got to do something in the church. And so that's the way we counteract it, because they all got, in the Catholic Church, they get a big day, in Lutheran Church, they get a big day, the communist thing, they got a big day. And so we've had school teachers come. And on that day, the one girl's teacher came, and he said, and it just opened our eyes, he said, I'm a Catholic, but I don't live my faith. And it was like lights went off. Us, and it's easy because my parents taught me that, but we live by faith going to church every Sunday. We live by faith just reading our Bibles. We live by faith praying to our God. We are living our faith. And we need to do that every single day. Just live our faith. And talk to Him. Talk to God. He will give you the desires of your heart if you'll talk to Him. If you'll do what He asks you to do, and He's pleased with you, hey, it's like the preacher said, you abide in Him, and He abides in you. He will give you the desires of your heart. And I'm like, sometimes, Lord, I don't feel like I'm abiding, but my dining room table is an answer to prayer. That our car in Germany, still running, we bought it before the kids got married. All 5 of our kids were still home when we bought this car. And I tell, and we look at each other and we say, there's no, when the engine light comes on and says stop, and you're still driving, you're about 10 kilometers from home, and you're sitting in this car, and I'm calling Misha, who's my mechanic son, I'm calling Papa Weimer, this thing says stop. Do I have to stop? And Misha says, no, you can get home, Mama. And I'm like, okay, I am praying. I'm doing some praying. I don't want this motor to blow up on me, And literally the car's saying stop. And I'm like, okay. But we've been able to give that car out to missionaries. The Folkers come from Africa and they wanted to go visit some other people supporting church in Germany. We hey, take it and go. We give it to Brother Brian Green and his family when they came to use for our meeting for Colditz. Enjoy it. We let Brother Paul Schneider and Miss Joanna and the girls that came to Colditz this year take it and use it. That was the best form of transportation. It's a 9-seater. It's got a lot of space in the back for all your luggage. Use it, and we've lent it out, and God's blessed it. And it's still running. It's still running. We left it there for the kids because it's the best thing to carry all of our literature, to go downtown to preach, all the tracts that we take downtown, the Bibles that we take downtown. We left it there for the kids to use. We drove our little car to the airport so that they can use it to get the gospel out. And that's the only reason that car's still running. And I'm thankful for it. But I'd like to give you something that literally changed my Christian life. Brother Rick started preaching. I won't turn down. I'll tell you what it is, and I'll give you the verses. I'll do that if you want to write it down. And I've got the card. I can pass it around if you want to get it, if you miss them. But Brother Rick started preaching a message on the 6 things you need to do every day. The 6 things you need to do every day as a Christian. And we did then get the words for it. So the first one is die daily. Die daily. And that's 1 Corinthians 15:31. Just die daily. And if you want it to make it easy to remember, we call that a privilege. We have the privilege in this old sinful world to die daily. The second one is to take up my cross. And that's Luke 9:23. And that's prophecy. We take up that cross every day. We humble ourselves and take up his cross every day. We ask for bread. We ask him to feed us from his word. We need the bread of life. And that is Matthew 6:11. And that's his presence. Number 4, submit to God. That's James 4:7, and that's our position. And what a position it is. It's blessed. Resist the devil. That's James 4:7 also. That's a promise. So we've added some to it, so the list is going to be up to 9 now. But it started with 6 because he did find some more. And this one was the one that changed my life because I told you I'm a pessimist. And it ain't in this world that people are a problem. I grew up not liking people. I'm serious. I didn't have friends in school. And it didn't bother me. I didn't want friends in school. I'm just that type of person. And the Lord has give me a love for people. I think I like it best when he changes me. When I ask him to take something away and he changes me to make me like it. And I think that's the biggest miracle. When I wake up that morning and realize, Lord, I like it. I actually like it. I told you I didn't want it. I wanted you to take it away. And you didn't. You've made me like it. Oh, my soul. Thank you. It changed my life. So, okay, that's the last. Oh, praise is worship. That's Psalm 72:15. And then we are, oh wow, I forgot this one's in German. The last two are in German. But it is, we are to proclaim His word. We're to witness. And the P word is preaching. And that's 1 Chronicles 16:23. And I'm thinking praise. I'm thinking again. I'll look it up to make sure. I'm thinking of these because I do pray these every day. And then God's provision. It's His provision. It's Romans 5:5, and I'll read that one. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given to me. And I'll be honest with you. It sounds like they're finished. Just really quick, when Brother Rick preached this, and he preached it about the fourth time, I'm like, God said, that's you. He's preaching to you. And I'm like, oh boy. I told Brother Rick, I went to Brother Rick, I said, I want the message. Because he writes them all out. He types them all out. I said, I want the message. And he gave me his message. And I'm going to be honest with you. I told God, I don't want to do it. I told him, I don't want to do it. I'm a Christian. I live a Christian life. Why do I need this? And all he would say, it's you. And I mean, there was nobody home that day but me and God. And I'm walking through that house and I've got that message in front of me and I'm saying I don't want to. And he finally wouldn't let go. And I said, okay, I don't know how. Will you teach me? I don't know how to submit myself. I don't know how to die daily. I don't know how to properly eat his word. I don't know how to love people. I don't know how to properly praise him or do these things. That I am so glad that he was willing to take the time with me to teach me these things. And it has changed my life. It's made it happier. I can handle people now. Where I never could handle it. Just, hey, I'll get in my corner, you stay in your corner, do what you want to. Fine. In my corner, I can pray for you. In your corner. But the Lord has just changed. It has been a blessing to me to die to myself and let him live through me. And finally, to be able to live my verse, that the life which I now lived in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who gave himself for me. So ladies, I would say, live your faith. Just live it in front of all men. Live your